All right, so hello, welcome to this introduction to web development with Python and JavaScript. So my name is Boyuan Liu, and so glad that I can do this comprehensive web development course with Cloud Classroom. So before I begin, I just want to ask everyone a question. Has anyone heard of web development before or want to guess what is web development? Okay, actually raise hand. Yes, sure, Jeffrey.
Is web development like making web pages and games?
Yes. Yes, it is making web pages. That's correct. So that's indeed what we're talking about. And if you know enough information about web development, what we're specifically talking about here is full stack web development. So can you guys see my screen first of all?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So a few resources here. So slides are available at bit.ly/cc webdive slide 1. If you want to take a look at this slideshow. We also have a course syllabus which go over what we will learn through this 10-week period. And it's available at bit.ly/cc web syllabus. And the source code, the code I'm going to type here, is already available at Replit, which if you take a look, is at the source code right there. And we also have a courses website, which is hosted on Heroku. We'll talk about that later. It's available at Cloud Classroom -web.
那你让他 log in 去
Cloud Classroom -web .herokuapp.com/courses/1. So this is courses website. And thanks for people for joining. Okay, so you do need to GitHub account to join. All right, so Zoom overview, just 2 points, just want to make. Please mute yourself unless you get called. And you can click on the chat to ask questions. Consider there's some people use it from China. We may not be able to use some Google services. So we're just going to use Zoom for Q&A. If you have any questions, feel free to chat here and I will answer relevant questions. So info about me, I'm a high school student here at Pleasant Grove High School at Sacramento, California. I'm a passionate web developer, specifically focused on the back end, but front end as well. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at this email address. All right, so let's briefly talk about what you will learn from this course. So in this course, we will take a look at 5 different programming languages. So we'll first take a look at HTML, which is going to be today. How can we structure in the website? Then we're going to talk about CSS. How can we make our website more beautiful? And then we're going to talk about Python, which is a programming language that we can use for backend, such that we can make our website more interactive. For example, when you submit a form, what should happen? We will also talk about SQL for database management. Then we're going to talk about JavaScript. Specifically, we're going to take a look how to use WebSocket. So at this course, you will have opportunity to see me and you will create some hands-on project such as URL shortener and live chatting app, etc. We will also have a chance to integrate cloud technology such as GitHub and Heroku, framework such as Flask, Django, Bootstrap, and Sass, as well as CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous development, and testing our web application. At the end of this course, you'll have knowledge and ability to create hands-on web application on your own. So let me talk about platform we're going to use. So the platform we're going to use is called Replit. Some people already knew it. So this is an online platform. So you don't have to download any external code editor or set up your local environment. Consider that is hard for beginner to start with. So we're going to use Replit here. And then I recommend you to create an account for saving your code, but that's not absolutely necessary. So Ethan said, can you post the last link here? I think I have it, but could you just post it again? So what's the link, the syllabus link?
Like, wasn't it like, could you like go back like 2 slides? I don't really know which one it is because
Okay.
I think it was like another one back.
This?
Another one. Like
here? This is
yeah,
like
the last
everything.
one. The cloud classroom thing. I think I have it, but I'm not really sure. And then also the syllabus. That could be.
Okay, so if you want to, you probably can take a screenshot of this, and then this will and yeah. So going to do this for write it down for people.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, thank you for Cloud Classroom. Write a high-level overview. Okay, so now I'm going to move on with a final quote before we're starting our real class. So what ultimately matters in this course is not so much where you end up relatively to your classmate or to the participant that is next to you virtually, but where it ends up relatively to yourself when we begin. All right, so now let's talk about programming. So has anybody heard of programming before? We're actually programming a few projects before. If you would like to briefly talk about what is programming. Okay. So does anybody have programming experience before, previous programming experience before? Okay, so it's fine. So let's talk about, okay. Oh, you guys are using chat, okay. So I was wondering, all right, so people does have programming experience before. All right, so if you guys don't mind, what could you, if you guys can, could you like type what language you know in the chat, so I can just take a look up what do you guys all know? JavaScript, Python, nice. Nice. HTML, CSS, nice. Nice. Okay. All right, so pretty much what I will talk about. So probably it's going to be much more easier for me to talk about. You guys already have this language experience. Oh, we got a C# right there. Nice. All right, so now let's move moving on. All right, so according to Wikipedia, which is in my opinion the most trustworthy source, computer programming is a process of designing and building an executable computer program to accomplish a specific computing result. So basically what that means is programming really fundamentally is used to solve a specific task, where basically it's problem solving, where you might heard this word algorithm before, where you basically take an input and then process it, and then you will get an output. So we will come back with this algorithm, input and output when we're doing our web development project, especially for the complicated one. But how do we actually program? Well, just like some students said, we were going to go ahead program using our programming languages. So there is tons of programming language, such as C++, Java, Python, and JavaScript. And then again, And then again, in this course, we will learn 5 programming language, such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, and SQL. All right, so now before we begin, I just want to formally talk about what is web development. So there's 2 kind of area of web development. We got front end and back end. So basically what you can think is front end is what you can see. For example, this is a screenshot that I take for the Google's homepage on July 4th. And then this is like what you see. But what you don't see is what will happen after you search for some specific term. And then that what backend happens. Now, that where backend happens. So we got database processing and etc. And then finally, I want to introduce you to a really useful and powerful developer tools that we can use when we're doing web development, especially.
We're going to a room Eileen is in.
I'm sorry. Okay, so with this inspector tool, so inspector tool is a way for us to see HTML, CSS, JavaScript for a website. And then to use inspector tool, you can press Command Option C for Mac, and then Control Shift C for other platform. And then if you're using Chrome, it should be automatically enabled for you. And then here's an example that you should see after press it. All right, so I think a few people actually learn HTML. So if you don't mind, can someone raise their hand and talk about what is HTML? If someone know what is HTML, all right, go for it, Jeffrey.
Well, it's hypertext markup language.
All right, that's great. That's exactly what HTML stands for. Great job. Okay. So I also see Lucas here. If you will want to say something.
I thought HTML was Hotmail.
It's not hot. Okay, that's an interesting abbreviation, but it's not hot. Hotmail is hypertext markup language. Does anyone know that what specifically HTML do? Ethan?
Isn't it like something like how like when you like get to a web page, how it like actually kind of like looks?
That's exactly correct. So this is maybe not exactly correct, but that's mostly correct. So like what you see on a web page can be created using HTML. Okay. All right. So let's go. Okay. So Lucas, do you have anything want to add? Okay. Well, never mind. Okay. So let's go ahead and moving on. So what is HTML? Just like I forgot who said that, but it stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and this basically allows this HTML basically make up the content for the a website. So for example, on the Google's homepage, you probably can see a about and store on the top left corner, and a footer at the bottom, and probably an input field that you can type. Yep. So, and then final thing is, in this class, we're going to use the most current version of HTML or HTML5. And then lastly, we'll talk about file extension. So a file extension is basically a way to specify what kind of file it is. For example, we maybe have some file named as document.pdf, image.jpg, word.docs, or powerpoint.ppt. So .pdf is a way to say, okay, I want to interpret this document file as PDF file, because at the end of the day, everything in our computer is stored as binary. Because so you need to know a way be able to decode the binary. All right. So to name our HTML file, we need to use this format, which is filename.html. Generally, it's index.html as your first HTML file. All right. So now let's go ahead and get some coding started. So we have this replit here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and create HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You can click on here. We're really going to use HTML for today. All right. So now you could see this is loading for me. And now you can see it pre-filled some code. And since we don't really need script or we don't need JavaScript nor CSS, so I'm just going to delete these two files. And I'm going to remove the CSS file as well. And then I'm probably going to make it more organized a little bit. So indentations. Oops. Here indent as well. Okay, so this is the information that Replit automatically create for me. As you probably realize that I didn't really type any of these codes out. So what do any of these codes mean? Well, first of all, if we take a look, this document.html, if you take a look at document.html, what we see, if we take a look at this doc type HTML, you can see this is probably the most weird syntax of HTML, as we will learn. So you can say the HTML is really built upon tags. So what kind of tag it is. And then, for example, the first file, for HTML, the first line of code for HTML file should always be doc type HTML, or left bracket, exclamation mark, doc type HTML. Basically, what it does is it specifies the file as HTML. This is like standard header for HTML file. And then we can see the second tag is HTML. This basically specify, okay, everything inside of here should be interpreted as HTML. And then you can notice that we also have a closing tag here. Now you can see there's two big elements. If I hide this, we have head tag and body tag within this HTML tag. So if you take a look at this head tag, what we see is we have two meta information. So first meta means meta chart set, or UTF-8. So are we supposed to follow this? Yes, I recommend you to actually type the code with me so probably you can understand more. Yeah. So audio isn't working. Can you guys hear me? I don't know why the audio is not working.
Are you supposed to send us the link so we can all work on it, or do we just make our
I think you guys should create your own Replit. So we should not working together because that's probably going to crash Replit. So you're probably just going to create your own Replit instead. Yes, but the source code is available at the resources that's shared above. All right, so basically what this meta tag is this meta specifies some useful information that's maybe not valuable to us, but valuable to the browser. And then this chart set, and then notice that we have an attribute. This is going to later known as HTML attribute, as this means that additional information passed to this HTML element. So this chart set means character set, and it's going to use this mode, so UTF-8. This is a way to interpret the text. We have ASCII, but we will talk about all that later. We also have a meta name, it's viewport. So basically, the line 5 said that to make the width basically is same as device width. This is the first line that we'll take a look at for responsive design. And then we got a title. So the title you might imagine as the title for the website, with the web page. And where its title is really at the tab. So if you take a look at the tab, you're probably going to say Replit hyphen your hyphen with your Replit name, repo name, but title allows us to customize that part. But notice that for now, everything we've been does is for the head tag. We didn't really talk about what should be put on the body tag yet. So so the body tag is where we actually start to type our HTML code. So let's learn a few HTML code for today. And unfortunately, I don't think I got cover all HTML code. I'm just going to cover a few common code. All right, so let's go ahead and start to type some HTML code. So in here, I'm just going to rename as my first web page. And then in body, I'm just going to create a tag, H1 tag specifically. So we have 6 kind of header tags, so to speak. So header tag, and then it's from H1, H2, H3, H4, H5 to H6. So H1 being the biggest, H6 being the smallest. So I can show it to you here. So this is the biggest header tag, heading tag actually, it's usually called, not header, but, and then this is the smallest. So heading tag, and then if you take a look, if you run, and then you can see this is the biggest header tag, and this is the smallest header tag, heading tag. All right, and then this is basically how, and then if you type this, you should see something like this. And then notice that for every tag we type here, for every tag that we type, for example, for H1 to H6, we need a closing tag. But this does not apply to all HTML elements. As we will learn, we will see a few tags that doesn't require or doesn't need a closing tag, so to speak. But here, congratulations, you write your first line of HTML code, and now you can see we got our first heading tag. And then, yeah. So now let's talk about paragraph as well. So what is paragraph? So paragraph tag is denoted as P for P for paragraph. And then, like I said, this is my first paragraph. Whoops, I misspelled the paragraph. Paragraph. And then if I run, you can see this is the first paragraph. And then if I add another paragraph, see here, this is my second paragraph. And then if I type it here, you can see these two have a 2-line break actually, but you can see it has some distance between each other, as that's how the paragraph should go. Okay, so this is about paragraph tag. Does anyone has any question so far? Okay, can I slow down a little? Oh, sorry, didn't pay attention. Sorry about that. For some reason, I cannot, it said unauthorized. So can you send your code to chat window? Yes. So people can try it. Okay, so I think I will just send this. Okay, so if you guys want to, the original, we have a source code as well in the resources. So I'm probably going to grab that as well. Sorry for the screen being a little bit laggy. So let's see, so it's right here. I'm just going to type the link. So you guys can try this out, the source code one. See what that one. All right, so here's a source code. Okay, so I will slow down a little. Okay, so now, as you can see, we created a few, we create like 4 HTML tags, each one with their respective closing tag. For example, heading 1, the biggest heading, heading 6, smallest heading, and 2 additional paragraph tag. All right, so I think this is pretty simple so far. Now what I want to talk about is the way that we can formatting our text. For example, what if how can we make our text bold? And how can we make our text italic? Just like as we did in, for example, in the Google Doc or in the Microsoft Word document. So there is a way, really easy. There's tag that can help us to do like bold, italic, underline, etc. So I will talk about text formatting. Let me just create a new file called textformatting.html. And in here, what I would, oops, I think, okay, now it should work. Okay, so now let's talk about text formatting in HTML. So I will type the required heading. No. All right, so now in the body tag, what we'll talk about is, let's first talk about how to bold a text. So to bold a text, it's really simple. We can use B tag. So if we type B with a closing tag in here, as you can see, if we run this, so if we run this, we're not going to see it because it's in a different file. So I'm just going to open this in a new tab here. And then you can see this is a title, my first web page. And then if I go to text formatting, HTML, what we see is we see a bold text here. All right, so this is a way to create bold. And as some of you know HTML, there's a second way to create bold text as well. It's using strong text. However, strong text and bold text doesn't really make any fundamental difference. Doesn't have a huge difference to how the user use it, how we use it, or how the user see it. It's basically the same. All right, so now I will create italic size. Oh, sorry about that. So, sorry for, okay, it keeps slowing down. Sometimes going really fast. Okay. So now let's talk about italic size. So basically, italic is like the text is not like more like square, but more like a little bit to the right, tilt to the right. Okay. So now what we are trying to do, is it because my voice is too fast? Or, sorry guys, this is my first time doing this. But, so italic, so itag basically can help us to see how to make a text italic. So for example, if I type italic here, and then if I run this file here, refresh, and then you can see we have italic here. So this text is italicized. As you can see, it's tilted to the right for a little bit. All right, so there is also another way for creating italicized text as well. And then that's called EM tag, EM for emphasize. As with strong to bold, it doesn't have any fundamental difference at all. So Okay, so can you show how you open textfront in browser? So basically, when you click on the run button, the replit will by default show the content in the index.html. But if you want to, for example, if we create another HTML file and we want to see that HTML file instead, what we can do is we can click on this button. So this button. So open a new tab, and then it should open a new tab here. And then in here, we can just type /text formatting or whatever is your HTML file name .html. And if we refresh, we would see the content in that given HTML file. All right. So that is how we can create italic text. Now let's talk about how can we create underline text. So basically, it will be a line under the text. So how can we do that? Well, as probably some of you already guessed it, B for bold, I for italic, so supposedly U for underline. And that's indeed correct. So we can use U tag with a closing tag that says underline. And then click on run. I don't think click on run is absolutely necessary. But if we go text formatting.html, refresh, and now we can see an underline text there. Okay, so this is how we do like 3 most common text formatting. Now let's talk about other ways to format our text. For example, another common okay, so what is this? So that is for the source code. So the code am I typing right now? It's basically the same, but if you want to go faster, you can take a look in that source code. So basically the code I'm typing and the source code doesn't have any difference. And can you show how you did the underline? Yes. So let me make it a little bit bigger. So I'm putting in, let me take a look. So underline text is here, U underline. We use U tag here. You're welcome. And then let's see. Andrew says I'm putting in HTML at the end and typing the name in the URL, but it says not found. So did you create a file called like text formatting, type text -formatting?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So is it your URL like this? This part going to be different, but did you type exactly like this? Because if you type exactly like slash.
Oh, I fixed it. I forgot it. Yeah, I think.
Okay, that's good. And then Jeffrey, so that part is the final part in this class. We'll talk about anchor. How can we link different section, link to different section within our web page. And then can you only type the word underline? We are trying to do an underline. No. You can type whatever word you want, but that's just how you usually do it. Because like you can type other text as here. So you say other text. And then here we refresh again. And then you can see it's also get underlined. So whatever text that you're using is between the starting U tag and the closing U tag will get underlined. That's basically what it is. And of course, and obviously you can do whatever text for whatever, you can put whatever text between them, as long as you're not using brackets. All right, so looks like we don't have any more questions. All right, let's moving on. All right, let me just put it back to underline. So we will know this is for underline. All right, so another common text formatting that we probably can do is using with highlighting a given text in yellow. So really the most common color for highlighting is yellow. That is so common that we don't even need CSS, which we're going to talk about in next class. We don't even need to CSS to format this. We can just use mark tag. So you put mark here and a mark here, and then I can type whatever I want between these two tags, and I can type something like highlighted in yellow. And then if I go to here, text formatting.html, and refresh it, now you can see this text is highlighted in yellow. Okay, so now we talked about how to bold a text, italic size text, underline a text, and how to highlight a given text in yellow. How do you highlight again? So you use highlight, you are using mark. So it's not like highlight in yellow, but it's like a mark. We are using mark text to highlight a text in yellow. And then we'll talk about, you're welcome, and we'll talk about how to highlight text. Probably you want highlight in red. We'll talk about how do we do that in the next class. All right, so this is Mark. And now let's go ahead and talk about strikethrough. So strikethrough basically is similar to underline, but instead of draw underline under the text, we draw a line through the text. So strikethrough, sometimes I don't know why we are using strikethrough. Why can't we just delete the text? But we're using strikethrough to say something that is no longer relevant, but we still want to keep it for the web page for some reason. So to use strikethrough, as we see a pattern in bold, italic, underline, we're going to use S for strikethrough. In here, I'm going to type strikethrough. And then here, if I refresh, we see a text get strikethrough, which we're using as text. And of course, you can put whatever text within the closing, the open S tag and the closing S tag. It will do no difference. It will strike the text. So drive through the text within the open S and the closing S tag. All right. So now we will talk about other code formatting, such as people probably want to type some code within a web page. For example, if you're doing like tutorial on how to create HTML, probably what we want to do is put code. So code, but to show the difference between code, we actually have a code tag that we can use. So code tag, what's that going to do is it's going to show a different font for the code that we're typing. For example, if I type hello world here, and then if I go ahead and refresh this page, what we see is it prints out differently. It's not print out in time. So Times New Roman is the default way for printing a text. But when you're using code, basically, it's printed out using monospace as its font. All right, so some of you may think, hey, I don't really want to print out hello world in my web page. I probably want to print out an HTML element in my web page. So probably you're thinking, well, so I want to talk about what should be the first line of HTML, and then I can just type doc type, and I can just type doc type HTML here, right? Well, if we take a look of that, what we expect to see is we actually see the doc type HTML get printed out, but we didn't see anything. Does anyone have ideas why that happens? Why we put okay, since someone already answered my question, I would just call on you. Jeffrey?
Is it because it thinks you're starting a new web page and it just doesn't like read it like the
Yeah. Yes, you are correct. So it's thinking that we didn't interpret as text or as string, as we will talk about when we talk about real programming language. It's understand as a tag. No, it's understand no difference as this tag. So this tag actually get interpreted. So the way to avoid this tag, because as I just said, that you can put anything possibly between here, beside like bracket and some special symbols. But how can we put a bracket in? Well, to put a bracket in, what we can type is ampersand, which get rid of brackets. You can do that, but there is alternative way to print out the brackets. We can use ampersand LT semicolon. This is for the left bracket, and then we can also type at the end. We can type and GT semicolon, and this what we're going to do is print out the closing bracket. So if you take a look now, and now what we see is we saw the bracket successfully get printed out. That means the HTML interpreter don't interpret this as an HTML element. It imported it as text. All right. So two more things I want to talk about. It's called subscript and subscript. So let's take a look what is subscript and subscript. So subscript, oops, I didn't allow this person to try. Okay, so what is subscript? Well, subscript is a way for moving, so subscript and sub is a way for moving the text down or up. For example, here's a position for normal text. But if we're using sub for subscript, we can see this. So we type something in here. And then I refresh it here. Which we see is this text. Which we see is this text go below the normal text. So it's like when you're doing the math, maybe you heard of logarithm before, like log of 2, you're probably going to put 2 as a subscript. As most of you probably learn exponent can be expressed as a subscript, which means instead of put a text below an element, we put a text above an element. So in here, I can type normal text, sub. So sub for subscript, and in here I can type subscript. And then if we refresh the page, what we see is instead of it getting below the text, it gets above the text. Okay, so now everything looks pretty good. So this is pretty much some common text formatting we will do. We'll learn more text formatting. We'll learn more text formatting as we we'll learn more text formatting as we talk about CSS, which we can change font, change color, change position, etc. Okay. Yeah, exactly. They sound so similar. One is subscript, sub, S-U-B. One is sub, S-U-P. So can you show the code again? Definitely. So here's the code. That's how we make it work. We use sub for subscript, sub for subscript. All right. So I saw you were saying subscript and subscript. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Is this on Java or Python? This course was specifically, right now we're focusing on HTML, the way to structure a website, but eventually we talk about Python. However, we will not talk about Java in this course, unfortunately. All right, so, but now if we take a look, this is probably going to get a little bit messy soon because like every text is almost on the same line. Probably I want to create a line break. So like each element is going to have their own line. So like bold, italic, underline, highlighting in yellow, strike through, etc. So how can I do that? Well, we can accomplish a line break using BR tag. And the special thing about the BR is this will be the first tag we learn that it without a closing tag. Because most of the tag we learn, besides meta tag, have a closing tag. For example, B, bold. The reason they need a closing tag is because they need to know where to finish to interpret this as a given text. For example, without adding bold, it probably just going to interpret rest as bold as well. But with this closing tag, you can see we got interpret bold as bold text. And now if we think about why don't we need B line break as a closing tag, it's really, you don't need a closing tag for line break. No matter where did you add the line break, it should only be it should only create one line break. So that's why the line break don't have a closing tag. And now I can just add closing tag to every element. And then here if I refresh, and now I can see it's kind of nicely organized, and then print out here on their own individual line. Okay, so this is BR for line break. Another way we can talk about is how can we really create different sections. So imagine that we didn't create different file. The reason I create different file is for organization. But if we didn't create different files, if we put them all into the index.html, we need to wait to show different sections. That's where we can use horizontal line to differentiate the sections. So horizontal line can be represented, probably you're thinking HL, but it's actually HR for horizontal line. And then it also don't have a closing tag because, well, it doesn't need a closing tag because no matter where did you put it, it should only create one horizontal line after the below wherever you put it. And now if we refresh, now we can see there is a horizontal line that's get created. And if you look closely, they also have a tiny bit of 3D effect as well. Is there a reason that you said subscript, not superscript? No. That's how it's supposed to call subscript, but probably it is called superscript. Okay. So these are the basic and common way for, okay, I will show the code again, no problem. So these are the common way for text formatting. So you're welcome. So now what we'll talk about is, let's go talk about other way to display our text. So for example, right now our page is really boring. Like we don't even have a picture, right? Probably want to add a picture. So how can we add a picture? Well, let's go ahead and create we're going to call this file anchor-image.html because that's how I call this.
Is anybody here?
I am.
Oh
His
my god.
internet disconnected.
Wait, the instructors, why he just broke out of the room. Now there's nobody.
Really, like,
think his internet was bad.
Yeah, and then now there's no teachers inside.
I think he's gonna like join like any time soon now.
Yeah.
What if he's still concentrating on his code and then didn't even like
Anybody?
He's
Viewers is about to add a picture and then something weird happened and then
Hi, students. I think the teacher had some network issue. Can you guys take a break? And please come back at 4:30 p.m. Let's just take a break for 80 minutes. Okay, please come back at 4:30.
yes, ma'am.
okay.
I'm just gonna stay for 8 minutes just because I have nothing to do with my time.
You are feel free to stay as well. So the class will start at 4:30.
Basically, the class will start again at 4:30.
Yes, and 4:30 PST.
Okay, thank you.
is DK Quack? Should we like introduce ourselves? Like that's what DK Quack said. I didn't think we covered. Yes. Who goes first? Who goes first?
You.
Am I? Shara this. Who did? Two hours. I think. Wait. Yeah, 2 hours. Oh yes, we do get a break. But that's only like 8 minutes. It should be like, I don't know.
I think we'll probably get another break like during 8 a.m. or something, like half an hour later.
We should like introduce ourselves now. Yeah, whatever.
I don't think anyone wants to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. If you guys want to introduce yourself, just feel free to unmute yourself and introduce and say a quick hello and whatever you want to talk about. Yeah, we can do that for a couple minutes.
Okay then. Okay, actually.
I guess Jeffrey, you can start.
Okay. Wait. I just have a question. Is this camp slash like class? Is it like only in Washington? I mean, like the teachers in California, but like, are all of us in Washington?
Actually, that's a good question. And Cloud Classroom is a global platform. We have students from Washington State. We have students from the East Coast. And we have students from California. We also have students from China. So it is in multiple regions and in 3 time zones.
Oh. Okay. Okay. So I'm Jeffrey Liu, and I go to a private school called Overlake in Redmond, Washington, and it's kind of near like Seattle. And I'm in 5th grade. So yeah.
Wait, are you in 5th grade this year or next year?
This year, I'm going to 6th grade next year.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go to Overlake next year for 5th grade.
You are?
Yeah.
Good. I might see you then.
Okay. My name is Ethan Long, and I live in Bellevue right now. And I'm gonna go to Overlake next year. I used to go to Bear Creek, and now Overlake.
Go Owls.
Yeah.
Wait, so it's like everybody here? Wait, who's DK Quack? What does DK stand for?
Anonymous or something?
Hasn't even is it a? I don't even know if it's a he or a she.
It looks like a he.
He
Right?
says it's an initial, and he's a he.
How do
I
you?
think
Because he just put it in the text. Look at the text, dude.
Oh, okay.
Wait, let me see if we can click onto.
Oh, I have my overlay shirt on. That's cool. Okay, who else? Whose turn is it now? Who? Andrew Gao, Amy Yuan, Cynthia, DK Eddie, what just happened?
Yeah, Jeffrey, thank you for introducing yourself. We actually have people also from Australia, so it's really multiple time zone, multiple regions. So I think our teacher is ready. Our teacher is ready. So we can stop the chatting and switch gear back to the class.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I don't know why my Wi-Fi went out in that moment. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, but like,
I'm so sorry, guys.
we got a break, and that's all that matters.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I'm so sorry about that. And okay, we'll pick up where we left off, the anchor and image. So sorry, I hope it doesn't happen during the rest of the time. I'm so sorry. All right, so let me reshare the screen. Okay, could you make me host again? I'm sorry about that. All right, thank you very much. All right, so sorry about that. Okay, so now we talk about different way to format your text, but it would be great if we can add an image. So it turns out that we can add an image pretty easily. So if we go take a look up here, let's go create anchor image.html. Hopefully this time is fine. All right, so this time let's practice by typing the required header. Body. Slash body. Okay, and then here we'll use a new tag, and then this tag is also a non-closing tag. It's because image doesn't really need to be closed. Be closed is like image, like it will be put at wherever you type your code. But where should our image to be? So where is our image? Well, we can explicitly specify that using source or src. And then here, we're going to type what source is our image. So where's our image? And then here, we're going to type something like this, logos.download.com/content/uploads. This is basically the URL for the HTML5 logo. Batch.png, and then hope I type everything correctly. And then, but we are not quite finished yet. So it turns out that we may take accessibility as one of our concerns, especially when designing web application, is how do we handle when people is blind? So there's a tool called screen reader, basically. So there should be a way that to let screen reader know how suppose we read a text. How do I type so fast? That's because probably it's laggy. And then here's a link to the batch, so you can just copy and paste. Let me take a look here just to make sure it is. So whoops. I'm pretty sure, yeah. I think, yep, this is the image. Okay, so back to what I was talking about, screen reader. So there should be a way to able to let our computer understand how to handle when someone using screen reader. How should the screen reader get read? So that where we provide out attribute, another attribute, HTML attribute. So out, we can provide that information that's either going to read to the blind people, or the information going to say, or the information going to display that if the image cannot be loaded correctly, such that the image, it cannot find a given image, we can type out, and then here, I can type HTML5 logo. And then if you click on run, and then here, type anchor image.html. And then what we're supposed to see is now we can see a huge logo there. But this is probably not what we wanted because it's so huge. Because like I cannot even see it completely. It's just a bunch of orange, some gray and white. So here is when we can take we can resize the image just by using HTML. So we can resize the image by providing two other HTML attribute. We can say width and height. So what will be the width? Is this going to be some number with a unit? For example, like I said, 100 pixel. That's how I want the width be. And then I want the height also be 100 pixel. And then if you don't provide units, such as if you just write a number, it will automatically interpret it as pixel, I believe. And then if I will refresh it now, and then what we see now is an 100 pixel by 100 pixel HTML logo right there. All right. So this is how we can create image in HTML. All right. So now let's go ahead and talk about how can we add an external link. So adding image is pretty cool, but what would be cooler is how can we add an external link? Because odds are, when you visited a website, they have at least one link that linked to external. Okay, so Ethan, what do you want to say?
Could you like re-show us the code? I didn't get to see all of it.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, it's right here. I put the source into the chat window right there, if you want to take a look at that. Basically, it's the image with 4 attributes: source, out, width, and height. We're going to use width and height to resize the image. Okay. The picture won't show. So could you put your source here? Oh, did you guys put the quotation mark as well? So don't put the quotation mark. What does px mean? Px means pixel. It's a unit for measuring for computer, like a computer measurement. It's just like centimeter. You can't even put centimeter there if you want to. So the picture won't show, most likely is you put the quotation mark as well. Yes, exactly the same. So I would just copy this this entire text here. This is what it's supposed to look like. And you shouldn't have quotation marks there. Sorry about that. I put the quotation mark. Yay, nice. Now it showed. All right. So now we can see an image. And then now let's go and create some external links. For example, I can create it. We can use anchor tag to create an external link. Then we will look back to anchor tag again. We'll take a look back to anchor tag again at the end, but we'll take a look for external link for now. So for example, we're gonna link it to Google. How about that? Google, https://google.com. And then notice that I already typed an HTML attribute here, href. This means where do you want the link to do? So where do you want the link to redirect user to? So in here, I probably can type https://google.com, and I can say link to Google. And then if we go ahead and refresh, what we can see, whoops, I mistyped the link to Google here. All right, so I will actually explain this a little bit, what's happening here. So basically, href here is where you put the URL that you want to link the user to, and between the closing a opening a tag and closing a tag, which is supposed to put there, is a placeholder that you want user to see. For example, link to Google. This is what the link that user is supposed to see. And then if I refresh now to get rid of this embarrassing spelling mistake, and then now we can say it said link to Google. And then if since I already clicked the link when I'm doing this practice, it's shown on purple underline, but when we are first seeing this link, it should be blue underline. We'll talk about how can we change how the color shows and after the link is clicked. We'll talk about that in CSS class. And then this is pretty much about external link and anchor tag. Now we're going to talk about lists. So you might imagine that there's quite a different way, a lot of way actually to display lists. There's two kinds of lists that in our webpage. It's called bulleted list or numbered list. So bulleted list just is bullet point, and then number list is like 1, 2, 3. And then we'll talk about how can we create lists as well. So to create a list, I'm just going to create a new file called lists.html. You don't have to create different files, you can put them together. I put it here just for organization. And then standard headers. By the way, I'm using indentation, so you can press tab key or press space key. Indentation is not required in HTML, but it's highly recommended, so it can read it code better. And I highly recommend you to follow it because when we talk about Python, it really strict on indentation. All right, so in body, we can type. I'm sorry.
The link is not really like working, so I'm not really sure what I did wrong, so I don't really know.
Okay, let me try to click this link. Yeah, redirect me to Google. So did you type like?
It's not like getting underlined and you can't really click, so.
Oh, cannot. Okay, so the anchor tag is actually a little bit hard. So this is how supposed to write the anchor tag. So with href
I think I see what I got. I forgot like the 2 quotation marks.
Okay. Okay, so this is how it's supposed to write an external link. Quotation marks. Yeah. And then placeholder between opening A and closing A. Yep, that's how it's supposed to write it. All right, so now let's talk about list. So we'll create it's a bulleted list. All this showing is a question mark. Now the image. Are you sure? I'm not sure why it's supposed to show Are you sure it's are you sure it's not showing? Because if you type exactly, it works for me. It works for me, not for me. Okay, did you guys type? Yeah, you have to be exact. Oh. I don't think it's a Google image. So I think this image should work for. I don't think this is a Google image. Probably it is. What you can do is using Baidu to just Google some external. Yeah, you can use Baidu instead of Google if you're in China. With the image, whatever image source works, as long as it ends up with a .png or .jpg. All right. All right. So now let's go ahead and talk about. So this is how we can create external links. Now what we can do. All right. So now what we could do is create a table. Probably most of you use a table before for organizing data. What we can do is so we can also create a table pretty easily in Okay, so yes, Ethan.
The link's not exactly still working.
Okay, so could you put your link code here, the 8? Your computer is not reloading. You have done the list yet? Yeah, I know. I guess I will do the list first. The people who get it to work. So first we can create a UL for unordered list, which means it's a bulleted list. And then here I can create a line item. Do you mind if we remove the spaces between href? You are not supposed to have the spaces with a tab. So li in here. So we're using UL to create a bulleted list. And then to make it work, each element in here needs to have a line item to represent an item within that list. And then here, I can type something like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I'm just going to change each one of these for UL. And then if you take a look on lists, so I'm just going to copy the code here. And then, whoops, get a copy. And then here, if I go to list.html, what we see now is bulleted list. It said HTML, CSS, and JavaScript there. And then now what we can do is we can also create ordered list, which is a numbered list. So how can we create a numbered list? Is instead of unordered list, it's an ordered list. Ordered list, and here I can put a line item here. And then what we can see here is some ordered values, so like 1, 2, 3. Oh, can I copy the code to the window? Sure, your code doesn't show up. Have you tried refresh? I'm assuming you're trying to refresh. It should be auto saving, no matter what. Sorry for the wrong indentation. Doesn't work that well. Directly paste it to Zoom. All right, so now if we take a look here and refresh, and now we get 1, 2, 3 as our ordered list. This is not Python. This is not Python. The list is not exactly the Python's list. It's it means that the list as we actually see on the web page. It's not the list like Python, like an array. Okay, so now we talk about lists, and now we're going to talk about tables. So probably all of you see some tables before, so the table of value. And then we can create table not easily, but fairly simply using plain HTML. So now I'm just going to create a new file called table.html. And then in here, I'm just going to fill out everything here, our headers. And then body. And then here, I can create a table. So to create a new table element, I need to create, obviously create a table here. And then now if I think about a table, what a table should have is have rows, right? It have different rows. And then to represent the different rows in the table, we're going to use TR for table rows. And then, so if you think about this, the first row in the table should be a little bit different. Should be the header row in some sort. So it should be bolded. That's why for the first row, the data can be represented a little bit differently. So we're going to use TH for table header. And then let's go ahead and type table header here. So I can just type first name and the last name. Last name. So table header, first name and last name. Now, if we take a look of the table, and don't worry, I will put the code there in just a little bit. And then now we can see we got our first name and last name. Since I make it bigger, it looks like each one is not, it's just bolded. But now we really need to fill out some information in, right? So how can we fill out the information? Well, in TR, then we can create another table row, right? TR, but instead of TH for table header, we use TD for table data. And then what we can type here is I can type my name, first name, and then last name. And let me go copy this into the chat. If I can find where the chat is. And then, sorry about that, I'm just pasting into the chat just in case people need it. Okay. This is how to create a table. Table is fairly complicated elements. So just a quick table is fairly complicated. So to create a table, we need to first initialize a new table element, and within table elements, we need table TR for table row, and then we need TH. And then in here, what I can say now, if we refresh, we indeed see another row here, and then with our name. Yes, Ethan, what do you want to say? Okay.
How do you create the number like the number list thing?
Number list. Okay. So you're going to create a number list using OL because number list is ordered list. That's what OL stands for, ordered list. And then in OL, you're going to put LI for line item, just like in unordered list. And then you can put the item that you want to put it in there. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right. So table is fairly complicated. Just a quick recap again. We use table. Then we have table rows. The first row probably display data differently. So we use TH instead of TD for table header. And then we'll create another real data row. And then here we use TD for table data. And then we put my name in. And then this is how the table looks like. You'll see this table doesn't look like a table at all. That's because we don't have border. We'll add border in the next video when we talk about CSS. Of course. Okay. So now, another topic we want to talk about is after you at least fill out a form at least once in your lifetime, probably. So we're going to talk about how these forms are made in HTML natively. So in here, I'm just going to create a new HTML file called form.html. And then here, what I will type first is header. Here we can type head. Body. All right. And in here, we'll go ahead and create a form. So just like we did in table, what we need to do is first we need to initialize a new form HTML elements here. And then within that HTML element, we're going to go ahead and first let's go ahead and just create a simple input field. So basically you can type your name. So probably we're going to try to create a contact form. Now you can type your name. So in here, I can say input type equals text. You can also specify different kind of input type. You can say like input type equals numbers, equals calendar for a specific, equals date for choosing date, etc. And then, as you can see, we also don't have a closing tag for input because there's no need for closing input tag. And then here, if I go to form.html, now you can see we see an input field. But we can type as well. So, but there is an issue with this because how suppose the user know a user know that what to fill out in this input field? Well, there's two ways to do this. I'm going to introduce one way to you. The easiest way. It's called placeholder. So placeholder is a text that you're going to see in the gray, and then when we start typing, it's gone. And then this is called placeholder. And then here, I'm just going to say name. And then here, if I refresh, you can see there's a gray, and then it's a name here. And then if I start to type, and then you can see the placeholder is gone. Another way you can create is using label, but that's a little bit complicated. I'm not going to introduce to you today. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about text area. So you might imagine the input type is way too small for something. For example, if you want to type, if you want to let user type a quick introduction about yourself or a quick bio about you. So what we can do in here, they can type your bio, for example. So this is my bio, blah, blah, blah. But you can see this scroll this horizontally. And if I want to type like a one paragraph, it's going to be extremely long and hard to read. And that's where we introduce text area within a form. So in here, we can use text area to create a new text area element. And then here, if I refresh, you can see we've got a text area. And then in here, if you see a little top, this corner right here, you could possibly drag this, move around, and then resize it, and you can type like a lot of stuff. You can even create a new line by pressing return or enter, and this is basically text area. Okay, so does anyone have any questions at all? Okay, let me see. Okay. It's a little bit complicated. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about. So if you guys have chat, just raise your hand. That would be great. Okay, did I miss a lot? Sorry about that. Could go back to a code. Yeah, so the form is a little bit complicated. So here's how you create a form. Sorry about that. Go put the code and can put out the code for the text area and the text. Okay, I'm just going to first is copy and paste the code to all of you. This is basically the code that we're using. So again, we just basically create a new form element with input and text area. All right, so now we want to talk about how can we make a radio button. So a multiple choice button, but so it sounds like multiple, but it's like more single choice. So how can we do that? Well, we're gonna use input again, and then this time input instead of text, what I will type is input type equals radio. Input type equals radio, and then to make it simple, I'm just going to add, let's just say gender. So I can put male here. And then I can put female here. And then put other here. So now if you go ahead and refresh the page, we can see a simple radio button shows up. So we have male, female, and others as our gender can choose. But if you try to click it, you can see I can choose every option, right? It's not like multiple choice, and once I click it, I cannot get rid of it. So what's wrong here? Well, the reason that it's not multiple choice or single choice elements is because we didn't specify a name attribute. We need to specify a name attribute to let HTML know, oh, these three are together, thus they can only be choose once. So in here, what I can type is name. It's another HTML attribute. We'll learn more actually when we're dealing with backend form processing. In name, I can type gender, since they are all about gender. Then I can just copy and paste the radio button here. And then if I go to refresh the page, you can see the look doesn't change, but this time when I try to click on a radio button, it's only like make it a single choice only, so you cannot choose multiple responses. All right, so this is about radio buttons. Can you show that? Let's do it again. Yes, I actually want to just put it into a chat as well. So here's how could you create input type. Here. And then in the future, we'll talk about how can we send this information to the backend, which we need to specify another HTML attribute, but that's not necessary for today. All right, so other two things I want to point out when we're dealing with this, another way is called checkbox. So basically, it's similar to radio button, but you can click on multiple items. So can I paste that in the chat? Yes, I already did. If you can scroll up, you can see I put the input type, input and text area, and the radio button. So now we can checkbox. So to create a checkbox, we're going to still use our input type, and input type equals checkbox. And then in here, I can say something like, how do you go to school, for example? And then you can say, I go to school by walk. The best way for go to school exercise as well. And then actually this probably, yeah, actually let's just scratch that. We'll actually talk about what vehicle do you have. That doesn't sound really good example. The walk thing doesn't sound like a really good example, but I can say I have a bike, right? What other vehicle do you have? I have a car. What other vehicle do you have? Maybe, probably.
A horse.
I'm sorry? If you have a question.
Wait, you can do a horse.
Can do a horse. Okay, well, if you count that as a vehicle, okay, so I'll put horse. I have a horse. It's really about like vehicle, but sure. So I'll put the horse in, and then what I can say now is name. And then as we learned from radio button, maybe a segue. Okay, I'll put that over everything there. And then in here, what I can type is we need to make sure we specify name. And then in here, I'm just gonna specify this as vehicle. So you know it's grouped together. All right, and now if we take a look up the form again, we have some checkbox saying I have a bag, I have a car, I have a boat, I have a horse, and I have a Segway. Well, I didn't put it yet, but I'll paste that into the chat. Sure. Excuse me. Let me do that here. Here is the code, and then in here, if you try to click it, as you can see, this is multiple choice. This is drop down. I mean, I'm thinking it's checkbox, so you can check, uncheck, check multiple item or a single item only, stuff like that. This is basic of checkbox, and the last thing we can talk about is, spoiler alert, is the drop down menu. So drop down is basically similar to radio button, but a little bit fancier. You can click on a menu in some sort, and it's gonna show you all the options you got. And then you can only choose one, at least in most drop down. And then in here, we can create a drop down. And then this time, finally, we're not gonna use select anymore. We're going to, we're not going to use input anymore. We're going to use select. Select here. And then here I will provide a name. Let's just say name. This is going to be, what animals do you have? And then in here we can create options. You're welcome. We can create different options that can have a value. Or to specify a value, you can use the value attribute. So you need to explicitly say value, so the form in the backend cache will understand it. And then I'm going to say cat. Cat, dog, just gonna make it fun, lion and tiger. Who had lion and tiger? Lion and tiger here. Lion and tiger. And then now if you take a look, refresh. Actually, I will put the code here first. So so I would briefly talk about value attribute. So this value attribute can be applied to any like it requires for select, such as like checkbox and stuff like that. Whoops. Sorry, Ethan. I don't know why I'm keeping sending you to privately. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I keep sending you privately. Thank you very much. And then here is a select, and now if you take a look, now you can see we got a drop down, and then if you click it, now you can see we get cat, we have dog, lion, and tiger as well. All right. So this is the essential of drop down. And the final thing I want to talk about is how to actually submit a form. So to submit a form, we need a button, and this button can be here. So we can create a button using button button HTML element. And then here type, I'm just going to say button. So if you really want to submit a form, you can say something like submit. But since it's just a demonstrate button, I'm just going to say button, because when we set it to submit, it's going to refresh, and it's going to send the data to the server that you specify, which we didn't specify. But we'll talk more on form processing when we talk about backend. And then button type is equals button. And here we're going to talk about, we're going to say submit. And then if we go refresh here, we got a button to submit. Oops, I probably forgot to close it. Yep, I forgot to add a / after it. And then if we go refresh, now you can see we got a button. And then if I click, it does absolutely nothing because it's just a button. All right, so this is the basic of form. Let's just do a quick recap what we did, because we did a lot. So what we did is we created an input type that have text that user can put their name, and then text area where user can put their short information about them, and then 3 radio buttons, 3 radio buttons for multiple choice, 4 checkboxes, and then a drop-down menu for select your favorite animal, or well, what animal do you own, I guess, and then a button to submit, quote unquote, which you actually cannot really submit. Can I post the code? I didn't see it was working. Okay, so I'm just going to put the entire form code again. If you guys want to take a look to the chat, then make sure I put to everyone. And here is the entire code that makes this form elements. You're welcome. Thank you for your questions. All right, so lastly, you're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, so lastly, we'll talk about is HTML media. So odds are that all of you maybe use YouTube or some other like websites similar to YouTube before. So what we talk about here is we would say medias. And then here, we'll go ahead and type all the required headers. Okay. And then here, type body. Then in here, we'll talk about HTML media. So media is similar to how we did with external link. So there's 2 kinds of media we're going to talk about, as video and audio. So a video tends to be more like obviously with a video. Audio is like only with audio, straightforward. And the video is usually end with the MP4. Audio is usually ends up with .mp3. And then we can create a video using HTML video object, video element. So let's go create a video here. By the way, some older browser maybe not support this. This is newly HTML5. So I highly suggest you download the newest of your given browser. And then in here, video, I can specify HTML attribute source. And then here, I am just going to put a video about a bear. w3schools.com/html/movie.mp4. And then if we go ahead and go here, take a look at media. Whoops. Oh, medias. Sorry, it's not. Medias. And then what we see is you see a bear. But there is a problem though, because I cannot actually click to watch it. It's just an image right now. But I know it's a video because it's ending .mp4 and it didn't give me any error. So how can I actually enable user to able to play this video? Well, then we're gonna give user controls. This is a HTML attribute that don't need to provide any other values. Can you give me the video? Yep, definitely. So here's the code. I believe everyone should be able to access this. Movie.mp4. And then now if we give user controls, you're welcome. Whoops, this is of course this website. And then if you go ahead and take a look. Refresh. And now you can see we got a video here. We have a play button. So we can play the button. You probably cannot hear the audio because I need to show the audio. But basically now we can play this video. And then we have some different options by default. So this is how you create a video. And then you can also create audio similarly. So I'm going to copy, paste this. The only thing that difference is really the video is not video anymore, it's called audio. Okay, I'm gonna share the code. And then it's audio, not audio, audio. So I forgot to spell audio. And then in here, instead of this movie link, we'll make it horse.ogg. So if you're using a headphone, I highly and I suggest you lower your volume when you play this. It's going to get a little bit scary. And then if you go here and then refresh the screen, what we should see is under the video, you can't see the code in the chat. Oh, I sent to another, oh God, I private message to another person. Why don't I pay attention to who I'm sending to? Sorry about that. I don't know why it doesn't do everyone. Sorry so about that. And then, let's see. We didn't see audio there. So, controls, where's the OGG? Yeah, let's just try to refresh again. Wait, I mean, okay. See, this is weird. I don't know why I don't see an audio here. Sorry about that. No, I don't know why I didn't. Audio. Did I spell audio wrong nonetheless? Let's see. Yeah, that's the okay. Yeah, that's the way that you're supposed to hear. Wait, that might was. Oh, wait. Oh, shoot, I forgot to close it. Sorry, guys. This is a closing tag. It does require a closing tag here. Sorry about that. And then if I refresh again. Now indeed, we saw an audio that we can play. It's a horse. And then you can see an audio there, a video here. And this is basically how can we embed media to our web page. All right, so one final thing I want to talk about is we're going to take a look back to the anchor tag. And then this time, instead of like linking to external website, I want to link to a different section within my website. So how can I do that? Well, this idea is built on like by the sections. So now what I can do is I can go ahead and get my, so now in here I can create UL. And then in here, I probably can say li, and then href. Copy paste the audio code. Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. All right. This is the audio code. All right. So now I will create an anchor tag as well because we need to link it. And then here I will just say section 1. And then section 2. And then section 3. All right, so probably I want to, mix this into, and then how can I make it work? So notice that I leave href empty. So to make it work, we have 2 things to do. First is find where do you want it to be displayed. So where do you want, when user click the link, where do you, find where do you want the link to display within your web page, so which section. So for example, if you want to display to the biggest header tag, I can give this an ID. And then I could just call it sec1, stand for section 1. And then now in href, what I can do is I can use a hash mark, which on the US keyboard should be Shift-3 hash mark. And then in here, I can say sec1. And then this is going to redirect you to wherever the HTML element that has an ID with sec1. So hash mark is a way to get the ID of a certain HTML element. It is ID is a special HTML attribute, and then it should only be used. Let's search the code. It should only be used for one element only. For multiple elements, we're going to use class. We're going to talk about all of that in CSS because that really matters. And then in medias, what I will type is now index, so I don't need to type anything. And then if I refresh here, now it says I don't have enough content, but that reason why I put lorem the dummy text here. So now I can say it doesn't really redirect me because I don't have enough content. But if I just like create a lot of header tag, just say dummy text. You don't see the audio tag on my screen. Yeah, so video and audio is like kind of like upgraded version, but if you can't see the video, you should be able to see the audio as well. So I recommend you to either install the most current version of the Edu Browser. That's why most people use iframe instead, but we'll talk about embed later. So now if I go refresh the page, is it big enough? I think it is. Yep, there's a lot of dummy text because I had to fill everything up. So if I now click on the section 1, now you can see it's kind of direct me to the bigger header, the biggest header tag. Since I still don't have enough dummy text, it didn't fully redirect me to here, but you get the point. So this is how we can redirect, and then we can set link and then redirect user to a certain section within the page. So here is the most important code. First is this href. Oh, whoops, I forgot the left colon there. And then second is this h1 tag. So you need to make sure that whatever is in the href, you need to have a first is hash mark, then the ID of an HTML element, and then it's going to redirect elements within that HTML ID. All right, so does anybody has any question at all? If you have, feel free to answer. And then if you don't, I guess that's all we got for today. So there is an optional homework that you, if you want to complete, it's available at here. Just click on the HTML, and then you can, and then to submit your homework, you can put your website URL here. So for your website's URL is whatever the URL is here. So if I just copy and paste to here, we're gonna wait a while. I'm just gonna refresh the screen. And then if I go click on here, then I could submit homework. And then paste the URL here. I click on submit. Now I can see I got some item passed. So it's running some auto test. You can submit for infinite time. So hope you guys can complete the homework if you want to. Yep. Yes. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. This is a short Q&A sessions. You can ask anything. Do we pass? Do we paste? I suggest that you made one web page that is brand new. Like you can make a page about me. That's probably, then you can put it here. So that's because I'm just doing the components, and if you can group the component together, that would be great. If you, I suggest you put your own. Can you send me the link? The course's website, you mean? The course's website is right here. You need a GitHub account to sign up for. So you need a GitHub account, and then you should redirect to the homepage. I designed this website. It's not really well. You need a you need a GitHub account to log in, and then when you log in, you can click on the courses on the nav bar, and then the only courses you can click enroll, and then you can start submit your content. I hope we don't have any error when using that web page. Does anybody have other questions at all? Like, where are you going to learn some projects? You're gonna build lots of projects in this class, actually.
Excuse me?
Yep.
What will we be learning on Wednesday?
Wednesday, we'll talk about CSS or cascading style sheet. So right now, that's a great question. So everything we did is really ugly. Like our website is really ugly. So in Wednesday, we'll talk about how to make our website more beautiful.
Okay, and the homework is due Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So the repo project is always loading. If you try to refresh, that would be great. Why do you use different files instead of one? You could use one, but it's just for organization. It's going to be easy to find. Just go to a different link and go back. Yes. I think that's how you solve the replit issue. Thank you, everybody. Yep. Thanks, everyone, for attending this class. Hope to see you on Wednesday. See you guys later. See you. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for attending. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. See y'all guys on Wednesday.
Boyan,
Hi.
and this is great. And I think for next class, let's give them like a maybe 15 minutes break in the middle.
Yeah, I actually planned that, but I don't know, the internet connection goes off, so I actually planned that in 4:30, but
this is perfect. This is great. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's just a little bit faster because some people, if they type slow or anything wrong, they may not be able to follow. That's my feeling.
Okay. Okay, so I'll go slower next time.
Yeah, or if you can, anyway, the source code you did during the class, right? If you can have them ready and then send to them before the class, or even beginning of the class, you paste it in the chat. Hey, these are the code we are going to use today. And then just in case they are too slow or they have error, they can just copy and run that. And
yeah,
then,
I think I shared this in the beginning of the class for the resources tab. Like I leave a link for the source code, I think.
Oh, okay, but I guess nobody opened that.
Yeah, I should keep pasting to the chat next
Or
time.
have your TA, you have a TA, right? Have your TA have them handy, and then if people cannot follow, just paste them in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, TA is here. Eddie is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think today you are doing good.
Eddie and TA, and you can help him, and you can check during the chat window if any people have questions, and you can just answer them. So he doesn't need to answer the questions during the class.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also if you have the source code ready and then paste them in the chat box, if anyone cannot follow, just paste them so they can just copy and paste.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Wait,
Yep.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Is
thank
there
you.
a place to get the source code?
I will I will send an email to you about the source code. I will send everyone an email about the source code before the class.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.